Scent Podcast.
Hey everyone, before we begin this week's show, I just want to introduce this month's sponsor, Aavegotchi. Aavegotchis are on-chain collectible ghosts staked with Aave's interest-generating A tokens. Compete for player rewards by earning XP, leveling up, and increasing the rarity of your Aavegotchi friend. Owned by the community, Aavegotchi is governed by the Aavegotchi DAO and the native eco-governance token, Ghost, or GHST. Summon your first Aavegotchi today and join the future of DeFi staked NFT avatars. Follow Aavegotchi on Twitter at Aavegotchi, AAVEGOTCHI, or on Discord at discord.gg/6R2PE58. That's discord.gg/6R2PE58. Thank you, and enjoy the show. Welcome back to the Matthew and Rizzle Show. This is Matthew. We're really excited to have Twobadour on the show this week of Metapurse. Of course, the big focus of our conversation was around the mega epic metaverse meetup this weekend, Saturday, January 3rd at 7 p.m. Eastern, called Metapalooza. And Metapalooza is an event for the token launch of the B20 token, which represents the huge, extremely valuable digital vault holding all 20 one-of-one Beeple every days that Metapurse scooped back in December for a whopping $2.2 million. A bunch of super valuable virtual land and museums as well, holding that Beeple everyday art. And we talk about the event, what's led up to it, why they're doing this, and the place in history that this collection and the scoopage of the collection sits, and where the future is going for crypto art and the metaverse. It's a really interesting conversation. Twobadour's hilarious, as you'll hear at the very beginning and throughout the episode. So I really hope everyone enjoys the conversation that Rizzle and I had with Twobadour about Metapurse, talking about this weekend's Metapalooza and B20 token launch event. Okay, Twobadour, welcome to the Matthew and Rizzle Show.
Absolutely spiffed to chat with you, Matthew and Rizzle, old chaps.
Yeah,
Well,
man.
I thought this was going to be a posh conversation. I mean, I've got alternatives if you want. I mean, so much TV, my accent's all over the place anyway. It's a bit British. Oh, crikey, mate. I could go down under. I have a cousin in Australia. It's got a wee bit of Scotland.
I like this pivot to a posh conversation. It's like a little bit of a departure from what we normally do, but I do love butler hors d'oeuvres. We should get some of them going when we're going to have posh conversations.
We should. I could do a wee bit of Scotland. My wife can't get enough of Outlander. Or I can stick to plain old King Julian, a South Indian, brown, tender, loving thing.
I like King Julian, man. Let's roll with that.
Or we could do a proper metaverse accent, a bit of everything, right? From Jersey to Java.
Jersey to Java.
Love that, man.
Oh my God, that's money. Dude, but this has been such a long time coming. Actually, before we even chatted for the first time, I came across what you were doing, your writing on Scent, and I reached out to you to do a spotlight on you, and you kind of like flipped the script on me and were like, yo, let's let's do a bunch of metaverse shit. And it's been an epic year since I met you first. But for everyone else that may not be familiar with you, introduce yourself, man. Tell everyone what you've been up to in the metaverse, and then I think it'd be interesting if you talk about a little bit what you did prior to getting into crypto and falling down the NFT rabbit hole.
You know, the interesting thing is Twobadour was born practically in April 2020. And the thing I love about that is none of the other stuff that I did before that. I was a journalist for 8 years and I was in communications, basically made a living out of words. None of that mattered, right? So getting into the metaverse felt like I had a clean slate to start on. No judgment, no preconceived notions. Nobody can see what I look like, where I come from, who I am. At the same time, I couldn't bring any of the good stuff that I did either, right? I couldn't give you a reference of my past work, what kind of work I did, how good I was. So it was incredibly refreshing. And every step that I took since April, since writing that first piece and sort of baiting Matthew, completely unintentional, of course, but that's what it turned out to be, was totally organic, man. So if I'm speaking with you guys today, with a $2.5 million acquisition of crypto art behind me with Metacoven, running communications for Lendroid and Whale Street, and sort of driving this whole art movement with wonderful people like Matthew, Andrew, and the Metacast gang, it's completely organic, and it couldn't happen anywhere else. It couldn't happen IRL. And so when Matthew asked me that question, honestly, it seems completely irrelevant to me right now, because all of the cool shit in my life, the stuff that I'm proud of right now, happened since April. So,
blam.
And I'm old, y'all. I'm not a young man. It's pretty sad, yeah.
Dude, it's not, man. I mean, so much amazing stuff has happened in the past, 15, 16 months or so. And we all joke around about that time frame being like 5,000 crypto years. It's hard, I feel like, for people to outside the space to even really wrap their heads around the amount of progression and innovation that's happened within such a short period of time. And dude, I feel like all of us can sort of identify with your story, man. It's just so exciting to be in the middle of all of that action, going on, and being directly involved in it as well, man. So I feel like a lot of people would identify with that, honestly, and even people who have done exciting things prior to this.
Yeah, it's all relative, right? To be fair, I have done some interesting stuff that I'm proud of out there, but the kind of instant karma response that you get in the metaverse is something else. People either instantly love what you're doing and you're surrounded with love and collaborations, or you're shit. Sorry, move on. So I love that feel. Just got to move on.
Yeah. But you kind of nonchalantly dropped the fact that there was a $2.5 million acquisition of some amazing crypto art at the beginning of some of the amazing shit that you've been doing in the metaverse. And I think we need to definitely unpack that. And I mean, back in December, it was pretty epic. Nifty Gateway, Beeple Everyday Drop, and there's just a whole story, a whole strategy behind what you and Metacoven as Metapurse did with that acquisition. So I just want to kind of pass the mic back to you and take us back to December before that drop, and take us up to the present after the drop.
Wow, that's the idea for the Beeple drop, to scoop up all of those 20 pieces, to do all of that, is entirely Metacoven. It's his brainchild. It's his madness that comes into play, and it's a unique kind of crypto madness, a metaverse madness, which can't be distilled into economics or numbers, if you know what I mean. So it's not a bet where I'm going to buy this piece of art and flip it tomorrow for 10x. It doesn't work like that, right? I mean, he is the owner of the largest virtual estate in Decentraland, and that's not because he spent millions of dollars buying up a proven concept. It's because he saw the idea or the potential and invested in it when it was just red dots on a large screen. So he first showed me DCL 2 years ago. I had no idea what he was talking about. I had no clue why he was so excited about this. So all of this comes back to Metacoven and his conviction in a sort of NFT thesis, which basically says that NFTs and NFT art are the catalyst to taking this entire space mainstream, and more importantly, sort of flipping the narrative of how people experience art, and sort of look at economics around art. This has never been done before, and for obvious reasons, I don't think it'll ever happen again, Matthew. Because think about it, right? When you're a fund, or you're a crypto whale or an institution or whoever you are, big purchases, say upwards of $100,000 NFT purchases, are a rare event. Maybe you might scoop one a year, or two, three at the most, even considering the way the space has exploded over the past 9 months. And this isn't just a factor of affordability alone. Just because you have money lying around, you didn't just go on buying up NFTs. Sorry, blah, blah, blah. Auctions and bidding wars, they take a large toll on your psyche. They're intense experiences that they make you question why you were born. They make you question your convictions and so on.
Damn, that is intense.
Yeah, they draw on every ounce of sensibility you have, right? You think you know art? Are you sure? You're about to put $100,000 on this. Are you really sure? You think you're that good? So it's like participating in an auction is like trying to solve some sort of a quantum equation about the meaning of life, and somebody's constantly yelling in your ear, "Do you know what the fuck you're doing? Are you an idiot?" So that kind of a process. So 3 big buys a year would have been a big deal. Metapurse did 20 single editions in 2 days. And the way we did it is, it was a very clear prep. We've been prepping for like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, first to convince each other that it was a good idea and why it was a good idea, why we did this in the first place. And then the actual strategy of the acquisition itself, right? So it didn't make sense to, swagger through the front door and say, "I'm Metapurse, I'm going to buy everything up. I've got all this money." That doesn't work. It looks really stupid. And you know how fragile egos can be, in a sense. We've all been there ourselves. So when you see a whale trying to sort of gobble everything up, you want to stop him because it looks stupid for his own good, obviously. So we didn't want to do that. So we created a dozen accounts, different Ethereum wallets to be able to bid from and to be able to purchase those pieces. We named a few of them after the 7 hills of Rome. We named a few after Charles Babbage and Blaise Pascal. We named a few, of some obscure references from Indian mythology and so on, and so on and so forth. So over the 3 weeks or 2 weeks, Metacoven moved around money. He made sure that all the wallets were well funded. And the biggest challenge here was to put a number to this, right? So how do you value an idea even before it's born? How much would be too much to spend on the Beeple drop? Is it going to be 200,000 of, it sounds ridiculous now, but we thought maybe 200,000 would be a good number to cap at, right? So, $10,000 per piece. Okay, maybe 200,000 would be a good number, but obviously it ballooned to astronomical proportions, and we were prepared for that too. So we moved in sort of guns blazing, and we sort of did it.
Dude, so curious to know like what the long-term play on this, I don't know if you want to call it like a bet on Beeple or however you might phrase it, because I'm thinking to what you said about his position on DCL, and this is way different than like discovering DCL 2 years ago when nobody knew what it was, and like going ham and getting the biggest parcel, and this was way more of like a public spectacle, like dropping the hammer on the space like type of thing. And so, clearly Metacoven, has some serious visionary, acuity, skills. I don't know what you would call it. And so,
Right.
You drop 2 mil plus on all this art in a space where crypto is booming in its own valuation, and it's getting flooded with artists, and not taking anything away from Beeple at all, but it does seem like we're on the tip of the iceberg. So I know you also mentioned that the play was not to just like buy this and flip it at attempt to flip it at 10x. So curious to know like what is the play like long term? Like, do you guys, I assume you guys have some sort of like plans like moving forward with these pieces, or like it's a part of some larger plan? Like where does this go from here?
Oh boy, yeah, we do have plans. I mean, this isn't a bet entirely on Beeple, Rizzle. I mean, if it were, we wouldn't have tried to, create all of those separate wallets and tried to, make sure we acquired all 20 of those. And even that was super difficult, right? Because Nifty Gateway is not an easy platform to bid in. Now, the original idea stems from the fact that we wanted to provide a beautiful playing field for crypto artists, native crypto artists, right? A lot of them. I've fallen in love with practically all of them. I met virtually all of them, of course. Sparrow, Lawrence Lee, Metageist, and from everybody from Jose Delbo to Josie to so many people, man. So we there must be a way to sort of launch this into the stratosphere and sort of flip the flipping model on its head. So when Beeple came in, we thought he was not just an extremely talented artist, right, and someone with a massive following. We also felt a sort of kinship with the kind of work he did. Someone who's created work every day without fail for the last 13 years. This sort of manic creation and sort of making art for the sake of it, we thought was proper metaverse. And to be able to ride on that emotion made perfect sense to us.
Wait, I get that part. And dude, I actually love that explanation. And, you know, it's sort of like tugging at my own like metaverse heartstrings because yeah, man, I feel like we all have a genuine appreciation for the hustle. But I'm still not like questioning, but like wondering like, all right, now you got $2 million worth of Beeple art. What do you do with it?
Okay. You could do three things with art, right? The first, obviously, is to buy the art and flip it, which is not possible when you've dropped 2.5 million in it. The second option is to take the art and lock it up like you do in the real world. You've heard of free ports, right? Which is what happens typically to all kinds of art. So people buy up very expensive and valuable art and they lock it up behind fences and inside warehouses. The third thing you can do is to open up art to everybody. So why should people sit inside the metaverse vault or any sort of physical or virtual vault? Why can't it be accessible by everybody? Do you have any idea why that's not possible today, Rizzle? Why do you think people don't open up art more or make it accessible to everybody?
You know, that's a good question, man. I assume some of it is just like logistics and space, and it's just not super practical until like the sort of crypto art revolution came around where you can have it like, you know, up in many places simultaneously. I don't know, man. Maybe fear of it getting messed up. You tell me, man. You're the expert in this genre, man. I just poke questions at people.
I think the biggest reason is that it doesn't make financial sense.
Okay.
It just doesn't make sense. Traditionally, art used to be completely open. Ancient civilizations had, whether you look at temple architecture or art in general, it used to be open to everybody to come and experience. But it doesn't make financial sense because the value of art isn't something you can easily distribute or sort of benefit from. And that's the model that we want to change. So what we've done basically is to try and spark a digital renaissance. We want to change the way art is experienced and also owned. Think about this. You're looking at, you walk into the Museum of Modern Art. You're looking at uh, a wonderful painting, right? Something that moves you. And you feel that sense of ownership saying, damn, someone from my species created that and it's moving me so much. So that sense of ownership, what if that was not just some abstract thing? What if you could also own the place? What if you had a key which not only allowed you inside that museum whenever you wanted to, but also gave you a bit of ownership of that space? That's what we want to do with B20. So did I say B20?
You said B20.
Yeah.
B20.
What is B20?
Right on cue.
Did we synchronize that shit? I think we did.
We did. This entire thing is called, we called it B20. You can either call it, the 20 comes from the year in which all of this went down, or the fact that it contains 20 of the, most iconic pieces of that particular year. So B20 is going to be a massive sort of a mega bundle of art. Think about those 20 works of art. Think about museums or temples for those art across the metaverse in Decentraland, in CryptoVoxels, in Somnium Space. Think about the insane builds of those museums, which are crafted by voxel architects you've heard of. imagine a unique or an exclusive soundtrack in each of these places by, say, I don't know, off the top of my head,
Rizzle.
Bao.
Oh yeah, he's good too.
It's good too, right? All of that, and all of that becomes part of one single bundle, which is not owned just by Metacoven, but which is tokenized, and those tokens are owned by anybody that wants them. So practically anybody in the metaverse who has those tokens can not just experience that art, but also own it at the same time. Does that make sense to you?
Yes. Forgive me for dumbing this down significantly, but this is essentially, actually, maybe that's not the right term, but it's reminiscent of like the Zoo Tokens project, which I feel like was one of the first things in this line of thinking where they're actually like creating an environment that can then be distributed amongst people in however they want. And this seems like that on like Beeple Crack or something like that.
Yep. Not too far from it. And this is the beauty of the metaverse, Rizzle. This is not an original idea, or this is not something new or something that hasn't been done before. I would only call this an evolutionary step. I mean, people have been trying to modify and improve the economics around crypto art for a long time, right? I mean, some wonderful examples are what Whale Shark did with his NFTs. He made a massive vault out of it. He did the whale token. That's an enormous amount of work, all based on the faith which he has on these NFTs and on this movement. And then there are interesting experiments like the one between Token Angels and Matt Cain with the Bitcoin volatility piece. So that changes the relationship between an artist and collector. Instead of being a one-off thing, it makes it a lot more constant. Then there's this entire world of ideas around Dada, the art economy. So all of this comes into play. And I think all of these ideas and all of these intentions, then there is Niftex, the idea of fractionalizing, NFTs or bundles of NFTs. Grow Your Base did some excellent work with that fractionalizing model. All we did is to capture all these ideas, and more than just the ideas, the intentions behind those ideas, and sort of scale it up to a massive level. And why we scaled it up to this extent is, if something like this doesn't work at this scale, then it's not going to work at all. You can't start small with big ideas, especially when you have the means to be able to go large with them. So that was a main intention. And we can talk about what happens next or where we think we're going with this. But the original idea, the crux of it, if I were to summarize it, is open experience and collective ownership of art.
I love this space just because people are able to do these absolutely bonkers things. If they dream it, if they think it, they can do it. And I love the framing of this mega scoopage as an evolutionary step in the collecting experience. I mean, we've already seen some great examples that you mentioned, and this is just taking it to the next level, taking learnings from other projects outside of the specific crypto art niche, incorporating all of that, and then bringing that ownership to hopefully like a lot of people. I'm imagining is the aim of something like this with the B20 event, taking this bundle of amazing art, land, and everything, and allowing people to own their share in that. But like, okay, so now that we have this B20 event and there's going to be music and like that whole production, like what happens after that?
First, I want to hear if this or any aspect of this excites Rizzle. Matthew, I love you as a host, as a newsmaker in this space, but Rizzle has this reputation that I respect for being completely brutally honest about what he thinks. The guy without any filters. You're polite. You handle people with kid gloves sometimes, and I thank you for that. Don't change, especially when it comes to me. But I want to hear from Rizzle, the zero filter one.
Oh shit. being totally honest with you, man, fractionalized ownership does almost nothing for me personally. I mean, I intellectually understand the appeal and the benefits of it, but I don't want like a shard of a punk, or I don't want like a shard of something. I want like the thing. And so for me personally, like I'm more prone to collecting whole things in general, but again, man, I don't speak for the masses, and I've been wrong a billion times in what I think the progression of the space is going to be. When I initially look at this project, just and take it at face value, I'm like, you guys either need to be like way out in front of like the learning curve in order to ever recoup this money, or not care about recouping this money and doing this purely for the sake of like what you were saying, like, putting this space on the map, like pushing innovation and ingenuity to the next level. And I agree somewhat with what Matt was saying in terms of like, anything is possible in the metaverse if you put your ideas to work and everything. But having $2 million to like execute those ideas certainly also helps a little bit. So I don't know, man. This is not the fractionalized ownership, and the sort of vault philosophy is not my bag, and but also not my area of expertise. But that's not to say I know what's up. Oftentimes I don't, and just because something isn't like flashy and shiny to me, doesn't mean it won't for everybody. And dude, I could count on 10 hands the amount of projects I was sleeping on just because I was busy hating on them, and then they ended up, blowing up right in front of me. So, I'm happy to give you my cut, but I would also take it with like a grain of salt, because oftentimes there are pioneers and forward thinkers who are several steps ahead of me, and I just show up and run my mouth a little bit.
No, man. I mean, now we're talking, right? This is what it's about. And I completely feel you. And I had this a similar reaction to the concept of sharding. And to be honest, most artists do, including Beeple, right? When you use the word sharding or fractionalizing, it gives them a sense that they're breaking up the original NFT, or they're breaking up their art into 1 million pieces, which is a painful concept to imagine. Would you agree? One way is to sort of shift this mental model. It's something, again, that Matthew helped me with. But the way I imagine it is, think of a diamond, right? Something precious, something incredible. Say the Kohinoor diamond. Obviously, I say Kohinoor because, well, I'm brown, 200 years of colonialism and etc. So if you wanted to distribute the value of the Kohinoor diamond and sort of have collective ownership of it, what would you do? Now, if you came into the crypto space and asked a bunch of people, one idea would be, yay, I mean, smash that diamond on the floor, break it into 1 million pieces, give those pieces to people, which is completely ridiculous. On the other hand, you take that diamond, put it in a vault, not a vault, in a glass room. It's a museum, it's a temple where people can go in and experience it, and make 1 million keys instead. Don't break the diamond, make 1 million keys. That's what's happening with the Beeple drop, with the B20 project. One way out of there. The other aspect that you spoke about, which I completely relate to, because look, as as a steward of Metapurse, it means that Metakovan basically puts his money where my mouth is. It doesn't mean I have any money of my own. I don't spend big as Twobadour. I can't do that. I have the same experiences, the same sort of aspirations as you do, Rizzle, which is why, as Matthew does, which is why we're able to relate to each other to the extent we are. But the fact is that I can't buy a really valuable piece of art today if I were to look at it from an economic or a financial perspective. If I want a high value NFT, I can't get it. I don't have the money for it. The most I can do is to bet on a low value NFT and hope that it flips someday, which is not very efficient, right? I want exposure to something that's hot, something that's happening today. And the ideal way to do that without losing the identity of the original NFT is to do it at scale, is to do it at the B20 level.
Dude,
I'm not rationalizing one punk or one massive NFT, because that doesn't make sense. I don't want a piece
Right.
of even if it's the first supper or even if it's the highest selling punk, but this experience, this big budget movie or a blockbuster which is frozen in time is something I'd want a piece of.
No, dude, honestly, I feel like that's an excellent point, and which is why I was sort of trying to buffer my statement, because, I do think there's a lot of people out there who just want to be able to say exactly what you said, man. Like, they may not even be able to afford a full Beeple piece, but they want to be able to say, like, they got their hand in that, or they, have some sort of piece of a Beeple piece or part of the museum or something like that. And honestly, I don't know if you guys remember, it must have been like almost a decade ago. I don't know if you know the card game, like Cards Against Humanity, but they did a publicity stunt probably about a decade ago where they allowed people to purchase like 1 square foot of some private island. I may not have the exact like logistics correct, but they purchased a private island and then essentially like sharded the island into 1 by 1 foot square pieces where people could buy a piece of this private island. And when it happened, I was like, this is the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life. Who the hell wants like a 1 foot piece of property on a private island? And I'm pretty sure they sold out like instantly or whatever. And I think it's, in the same type of vein where people just want to be in on it. They want to be able to show people like, yo, I own a piece of this awesome thing, this amazing like social experiment. Like, I literally have my hand in it. I can't buy an entire museum, but that's not the way this thing is rolled out. And so again, man, trying to buffer that statement, just because it doesn't necessarily do anything for me personally doesn't mean it's like not a good concept. And it's been a concept that's been around for a while, even outside of the crypto space. So how many shards are we talking, man? Just out of curiosity.
Okay. First of all, a tiny segue. That island thing is still going on, and I bought my wife a piece of that, a square foot of land.
Oh my God, so perfect, man!
Wow.
I knew it. I knew it all.
I did. I couldn't resist it, man. It was in Scotland, and she can't get enough of Outlander. I thought she'd appreciate it. She did, and they also give you a title, right? If you own land in Scotland, you're instantly a lord or a lady. So I bought one for myself. I bought her one. Now we are Lord and Lady Twobadour and Mrs. Twobadour.
OG Charter.
Yeah. I mean, you can't build. See, look, I can't afford an acre in Scotland. I can't afford an acre anywhere right now, but that's still valuable. That's still flippable. It's like it's like buying Bitcoin at $1 or Ethereum at 50 cents, man. It's still part of a larger picture. And again, I'm not buying a part of Beeple. I'm buying a part of the ownership of what I built with Beeple. I think that's a very important distinction to make. I don't have a piece of Beeple. I don't have the whole of Beeple. It's like I have a key to the city, and an actual deed, an actual token in my hand that says that's valuable. This is what it's valued at right now. And the more it becomes an icon in the space, the higher the value.
I mean, I feel like everything that we're talking about here is like we're experimenting with how we frame the story behind these events and behind what we're doing, right? And I think going back to the museum analogy, like you go to the MoMA, you buy a ticket, right? You're inside, you're looking at the art, then you go home. What B20 is doing is you can buy a lot of tickets and you can go to the event, you can listen to Blau do his thing, and then you can go home. But the tickets that you have this exposure to all the art, to the museum, to the underlying property that, like, at some future date, let's say things start to sell, like those are shares that have exposure to future potential profits, right? That's something that doesn't happen anywhere. I mean, we go to the whip all the time. We get our POAPs, but like, like those POAPs they're not attached to any of the properties that the whip is hosted at. They're not attached to any of the activities of the host or the speakers that are talking there. This is a really interesting model, I think, for everyone in the space to pay attention to. Of course, like, it's awesome that everyone gets to be a rich motherfucker without having to be a rich motherfucker and spending $2.5 million on art, right? And they get that kind of like vicarious enjoyment there. But there's that future exposure, which is quite powerful. And again, enabled uniquely by these crypto powered tools. So I feel like there's just so many amazing stories and threads to pull on here, and we're just kind of experimenting with that aspect as well.
So true. I mean, in fact, that exposure you're talking about has nothing to do with your current knowledge in the space, right? That's one of the biggest draws it has for it, I feel. Somebody coming in fresh off the boat and into the metaverse, he's looking for some kind of exposure. They have no idea where to look, because most of the platforms right now are graded in terms of which are the hottest selling artists, or most expensive pieces sold, how many millions worth of art they've sold, and so on. So it's difficult to sort of get a proper idea, a non-economic idea, and also an aesthetic idea at the same time. So this would be a first of many in that sense. And Rizzle, I think you like this part also, and Matthew agrees, is that the next stage is going to be even more exciting. If this works, and we do hope it will, we think it will, it'll open up the floodgates to a lot of smaller bundles as well, and a larger number of artists into the mix. Think of, okay, I can't talk about the bundle ideas I have in my head, but you can even think of a bundle which is as small as $1,000 or $2,000. That will be possible because they know that the model works. That's what we're aiming for.
I'm trying to figure out how the bundles relate to this overall project. This is like sort of like a spin-off of this museum concept that you're saying, or will be offered like in conjunction with it. I'm liking everything that you're saying, man. I'm trying to like imagine in my head. I'm like, obviously you're going to have to add more art to this, or he's already got like a pretty solid reserve. Otherwise this is going to be like a Beeple shrine that gets like sharded to, a bunch of people or whatever. Is this all like rolled into the same type of like overall premise, or are the bundles that you're referring to sort of like a spin-off? And I know Pranksy also just released something that might be similar to that concept, and I haven't looked too much into that either. I don't know if you have, but I'm just curious as to how that like plays a role into like the overall vision.
This is different, Rizzle. When you think about an evolving bundle, that makes the price really volatile. The value of it is not really frozen. I think of this like a blockbuster movie. Once True Lies is made, you don't want to mess with it after that. It's just is. This is like.
Did you just reference Arnold Schwarzenegger's True Lies?
And Blockbuster all in the same sentence. Let it rip, man.
I did. Independence Day, True Lies, all of 90s stuff. Right? I must have been the only one who had the hots for Jamie Lee Curtis at the time. I think absolute minority, but there you go. So this is like a blockbuster movie, and in absolute respect to the NFTs that we've collected, we've frozen them in time and sort of enshrined them in this experience. The biggest difference between fractionalizing or sharding an NFT and what we've created is that this isn't locked away in a dark place and then chopped up and given off to people. The experience remains open to all eternity. It remains constant and immutable, like a movie. You can go back to that theater, you can go back to that movie every year, every day, every week, or 10 years from now. It remains unchanged. It remains just as evocative. And it captures the zeitgeist of that particular time. And that's the major difference. The bundles I'm talking about are future projects, which I hope will be inspired by B20's success. Now that they know this idea works, they'll try smaller ones. They won't have to be a Metacoven or a Metapurse to try out this idea. And they won't have to be a whale to be able to get some sort of exposure to a high value NFT asset. if you are a whale and you still do want to buy up the entire thing, even that's possible. And it benefits everybody who holds the B20 token.
Nice, man. I'm looking forward to little people getting involved when we can shard the Rizzle shack full of his cheap NFTs. No, man, it's a really cool concept, man, and I do wholeheartedly agree and echo what Matt is saying, is in the sense that like the amount of creative liberty and freedom in this space to just sort of tinker around and try things and, you know, push something into the forefront to be the next big thing is one of the most captivating things about this entire space. Going back to what you were saying, man, about it being static and you being able to sort of go back and like, you know, rewatch the movie type of approach. Do you have concerns about that getting stale? I mean, how many times can you see Jamie Lee Curtis? You know, maybe for you like a lot, but for me, I'm like, you know, she's all right.
Yeah, you won't have to, man. That's the whole point. There are generations of people that come into this space, right? As Rizzle or Twobadour or Matthew, I don't have to keep doing this, but every wave of newbies that come in, those naked avatars you keep complaining about at the whip, those guys will be interested. They're going to love Jamie Lee Curtis. Every time somebody becomes a teenager in the metaverse, they'll want to see Beeple. They want to experience his shit. They want a piece of B20 because this is practically the first experiment of this kind. So they will want a piece of it to at least understand what it is. And then they pass it on to another generation and then another and then another. And I just think the idea will last, and that's all we can hope for. And the reason I'm sort of confident about this is that this is only going to make sense if it's the first of many. And for it to be the first of many, it has to be among the biggest that this world has ever seen. It's as simple as that.
Nice, man. Can't argue with that.
Hell of a way to kick off 2021, I think. And I'm super, super keen on seeing how this plays out and really excited for it to hopefully succeed so that these subsequent bundles and events can happen, because it's exciting as a participant, as an observer, and just thinking about it from the artist's perspective. I mean, I imagine it would be hella exciting for them to be included in these bundles and get that attention and notoriety, gain a whole bunch of collectors supporting them in this really, really interesting model. But like sort of on that 2021 theme, and shifting gears a little away from Beeple and the B20 event to just broader crypto and NFT space and metaverse. Like I put out some predictions the other day. I'm just curious from your perspective outside of this mega event, like how are you looking at the rest of the metaverse and the NFT space and crypto space heading forward into 2021? Do you have any predictions yourself?
Oh man, I wouldn't even want to guess. I wouldn't have guessed B20. I wouldn't have guessed any of the stuff that happened over the last 3 years, man. So I'm just happy to make this a spectator sport, and to sort of egg you on when you make your predictions and say, "Go, Matthew, make all the predictions. I'm behind you," rather than trying to say anything. No, but seriously, I think new economic models will catch on. And I think for obvious reasons, NFT is a touchstone of everything crypto. Everything is boring. Everything is drab and gray without NFTs. If if DeFi has a chance of going mainstream, if the idea of crypto, the idea of ownership has any chance of going mainstream, it's going to be via NFTs, because they're instantly visible, and anything that you do with an NFT, you can't hide them, right? If whether you're locking them away, whether you're distributing them, whether you're sharding them, whether you're looking at collective ownership, whatever it is you do with them, become instantly visible. And I think that's going to play a major role. We're going to have a massive catalog of new kinds of NFTs that have power beyond some sort of a cosmetic value within DeFi spaces. We're going to see DeFi become sort of an underlying layer in NFTs and in in-game and in gaming worlds instead of the other way around. So I think I'm looking forward to that trend. And I think B20s will pick up, and we'll have more bundles like this, and each bundle different from the other. Not we won't be looking for the next Beeple immediately, because that will make a lot of sense. We do something completely contra or counterintuitive to this.
It's awesome, man. And, awesome that you guys are, in the weeds, like pushing the whole space forward with what you're doing. And, I feel like anytime anyone's like experimenting on this level, the amount of eyeballs increases and people wondering what's going on. And, it's just sort of a spectacle. And, you're also preaching to the choir, man. I've been saying for a long time that I feel like NFTs are really going to be what's going to mainstream crypto because of exactly what you said. It extends in so many different directions and so many, artistic expressions. I know I'm preaching to the choir. We don't have to like get into like how awesome NFTs are, but just co-signing on your statement, man. And I feel like we're right at the cusp of that. And the people like yourself and Metacoven who are, being the visionaries and getting out in front of this space so that when the hordes of masses come, we have this magnificent interactive museum set up that people can tour and check out and everything. Honestly does make a lot of sense, even if like sharding isn't like my favorite thing in the world. I get it, man. And I honestly feel like it's really, really important for the space overall. So it's fucking awesome, dude.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, and well, I do want to be cognizant of time. I think Rizzle does have to bounce shortly, and I mean, I think we did cover way more than I was thinking we would. What's going on with B20, the bundle, and everything like that. So we
shake them down, man.
Yeah, I want to know your personal collection. I know what's in Metapurse, all the epic shit, all the double rare diamonds and shit, but I want to know what's in your personal crypto art collection. Like, what have you been collecting recently? What are some of your prized possessions when it comes to art and other NFT collectibles?
Well, it's weird, Matthew, because I've made, in a sense, I've made the Metapurse collection sort of feel like my personal collection. I haven't been able to separate the two in a while. I haven't bought or invested in art or any NFTs in a while, which is, come to think of it, it does feel a bit weird. But the reason I feel so comfortable doing that is because Metapurse and Metacoven have not sold a single NFT. And that guy's been collecting NFTs since 2017 or so. So I'm quite, I don't know, maybe it might happen sometime in the future or in some form or the other, but I've sort of projected myself onto the Metapurse wallet, and all of the amazing artists you see in Metapurse.e, check out OpenSea, all of those eclectic artists, I think there's like 75, 80 pieces there, are are sort of reflections of the way I look at this space, the way I enjoy art and the artists in the space. So,
are we accepting this answer? This is like a Russ Frankie type of answer.
That's true.
What do you like, man? What other projects are there out there, even if you haven't bought them, that you like that have nothing to do with you?
Oh, that's easy. That's easy. Apart from art, Lord,
sure.
man. I mean, every time somebody walks into, the whip and talk about what they're about, massive FOMO, I go and buy stuff immediately. I lost a lot of money, spent on wearables, on, on skinny shit, on Sparrow's art, on No Shot, you name it. Squiggles, what the fuck? Chromie Squiggles, artblocks.io. I mean, I've had so many conversations with Snowfro. I'm super excited about generative art. I think that's where the future is. The next wave is going to be generative art. I'm super interested in the work that's going on there. So I am interested in that project. I love Cryptograph for the, unabashedly celebrity kind of work that they do, which I think is really high quality stuff. I love this smart contracts that they have for for bidding, for auctions. You should check that out. I love grow your base stuff. I'm a member with those guys. I like the collection of NFTs that they bring to the space. So yeah, I mean, it, I don't know what reference you use, but I actually love a lot of the projects out there. Can't help it. Exposed to too much thanks to you and Matthew.
Dude, that was a great answer. I'm glad I pushed you on it.
Dude, that was a proper shakedown.
It was. I also wanted to ask you, Matthew, can we talk about the team that's working on the B20 project, because it's rather close to my heart, and I think it's one of the things that makes me super excited about B20s in the first place.
Yeah, go for it.
Awesome. So let's start with the team, right? I mean, we've got Beeple, obviously, the master with his 20 pieces. We've got Voxel Architects, Leandro and his excellent team who worked through Christmas to create some insane builds in, I mean, I don't know. They really capture the essence of Beeple, which is crazy meta shit. So they shout out to them. We've got Grow Your Base, John, Lucas, and Tabby, who've helped us, sort of craft tokenomics together and spitball ideas and strategy. And we've got Whale Street, who are building the underlying tech. I mean, something of this scale hasn't been done before. So we have V and Vijay and Alona and Lee, and a whole bunch of people, Paradox, Dinesh, Praveen, people you haven't heard about, but they're part of the Whale Street team doing excellent work on the tech side, on the UI and UX side. We've got the inimitable Paradox, who's taking care of cinematography and promos and stuff. And man, the biggest revelation for me and massive pleasure I've had working with are the Metacast team. Matthew himself, Andrew Steinwald, Brooke. I mean, I've had such a ball, working with you all, creating quality content and basically bouncing these gorgeous metaverse ideas, which we all have in our head, but we haven't had a chance to sort of articulate and express. Now we have some proper context and a reason to do so, and it's been a massive pleasure. And why I'm so thrilled about it is because all of these stakeholders that you just heard of, they got sold on the idea, and we're all stakeholders in this. We're all taking B20 tokens, man. We're not walking away with Ethereum or US dollars or that kind of money. We're doing this for a piece of this experiment, which I think is the coolest thing ever. And
well said, man.
Yeah, so it's going to be 7 to 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, right? On January 23rd.
Yep.
It's happening in Crypto Voxels first, at the Epic build that Voxel Architects has architected. And then the party, after Blau gives an epic performance, we're going to take a metaverse tour to Decentraland and then Somnium Space. So look out for more details there. People are going to be listening to this at the Wednesday listening party. So we'll have all the links for everyone then. In the show notes as well, we'll include all the key information. But yeah, it's going to be an absolute blast. And well, to wrap up, I just want to say that, like, in the whole entire metaverse, like, I feel like my two best friends are right now on this call with us. Or with me. We got my dude Rizzle and then Twobadour, man. Like, in any given day, I'm talking to both of you multiple times, messaging back and forth, reading whatever you wrote, listening to podcasts, hopping into Discord channels. Like, you two are my absolute, like, it has just been an absolute pleasure to be able to traverse the metaverse with both of you and just get inspired by your ideas and your bad cop kind of shakedown antics and whatnot.
And talk about you, Twobadour.
Y'all rock, and I'm so happy that we were able to hop on this call and talk about what you're doing, Twobadour. I know there's a lot more to talk about, the whip and things like that, but I think for today, putting a little bookmark in this conversation is a nice way to wrap things up. And I just want to say, man, I love what you're doing. I love your passion in the space, and hope that you keep doing what you're doing, Twobadour.
mean, thanks so much, man. I'm genuinely starstruck every time I interact with both of you guys. Obviously, it's easy talking to you, but also it never escapes me. The fact never escapes me that Rizzle is a true original in this space. I love the authenticity he brings, the honesty that he brings to the space, and I'm sorry I missed your birthday, Rizzle. I mean, if it was anything else, I'd have been there. I was like neck deep in that auction, so nothing else could have kept me away from that party.
Hey man, dropping $2 million is like a decent excuse. I'll let it slide. Thank you, man. Yeah. Jesus, I wasn't ready to this to turn into like a love fest. Thank you, Matt. It sounds like I need to hang out with Twobadour more.
Oh yeah.
And Matthew, I can wax on for years about Matthew. I mean, about how he has a voice made for radio and a face made for TV. I've seen you just 2 times on screen. And,
yeah, I've seen his face too, man. Definitely made for TV.
Yep.
Fuck out of here, dude.
And you're the perfect blend of intellect and sort of that dreamy metaverse passion, man. That's hard, as I think Rizzle and I can both attest to. We're all over the place most of the times. I don't think I can organize even 5% as well as you can. So massive respect for being an organized dreamer, if that's even possible.
This is great, man. You could go on for like another 10 minutes. Don't you just feel like grounded when you hear Matthew's voice, like just come on a podcast or like on Discord and you're just like, I'm home again with Matt.
Dude, I can see all the gifts that are popping up in Tokens on Discord. I'm getting roasted right now in the Tokens on Discord. Before this goes any further,
it's funny because it's true, man. It's funny because it's true.
I mean, it's almost, like sometimes when Matthew's like, it's really early in the morning for him or something like that, and he says some hell yeah. It sounds like he's having a sensual experience somewhere. Somebody touched him the right way or something. Hell yeah.
All right, y'all.
Try it, Matthew. I'll prove it to you. Say hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Ooh, you're right, man.
Anyway, with that, boys, it was a pleasure. We'll sync up later. Take it easy.
We shall.
Later.
Thanks, Rizzle. Catch you later, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Bye.
This is great.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening to today's episode. And I just want to remind you of this month's sponsor, Aavegotchi. Aavegotchis are on-chain collectible ghosts staked with Aave's interest-generating A tokens. Compete for player rewards by earning XP, leveling up, and increasing the rarity of your Aavegotchi friend. Owned by the community, Aavegotchi is governed by the Aavegotchi DAO and the native eco-governance token, Ghost, or GHST. Summon your first Aavegotchi today and join the future of DeFi-staked NFT avatars. Follow Aavegotchi on Twitter at Aavegotchi, AAVEGOTCHI, or on Discord at discord.gg/6R2PE58. That's discord.gg/6R2PE58. Thank you, and see you next episode.
Podcast. Rizzle. Send podcast. Let them know, y'all. Send podcast. Rizzle. Send podcast.